Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. So, it's going to be one of those episodes that some people love and some people hate. And if you hate it, that's fine, because the goal here isn't to make you feel good for 30 minutes. The goal here is to make you more accurate. And accuracy can feel harsh when you've been dating off of hope. So we're talking about what's possible versus what's probable. And I'm telling you right now, if you actually understand this distinction, it changes everything. How you choose, how long you stay, what you tolerate, and how often you end up confused. Because a lot of dating pain isn't coming from bad people. It's coming from people building their romantic lives on what could be true instead of what is most likely true. So let's define it cleanly. Possible means it can happen. Technically, in theory, if everything goes right, if the person changes, if the timing lines up, if you get lucky. Probable means based on what you can see, based on patterns, based on consistency, based on what the person has already demonstrated. What is most likely to happen? And most people avoid probability because probability has consequences. Probability forces you to admit what you already know. Possible lets you keep the door cracked open. Lets you keep the story alive. Possible lets you keep the fantasy of maybe this time. And listen, I am not anti-hope. Hope is fine. Hope is a human trait. But hope is not a dating or relationship strategy. And if you keep treating hope like a strategy, you will keep paying for it. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. Probably going to tell you a bunch of stories today, because this whole episode is easier to understand when you hear it in real life. So this guy came to me, friend of a friend. He's a good guy, normal guy, works hard. He's not out here asking a woman to save him. He's not out there trying to play games. He's been single for a while and he's a bit tired of it. Not desperate, just tired. And I mean, listen, if you've dated in the last few years, you know exactly what I mean. It's the whole dating fatigue thing. Tired of the stalking stage, tired of people disappearing, tired of pretending you don't care, tired of feeling like you're doing everything right and still nothing stable gets back. So he meets this woman online. She is gorgeous, like objectively beautiful. And she has that thing that a lot of attractive people do, where they can be just be like warm enough to like pull you in, but never warm enough to be held accountable. They start talking and he is getting very excited because finally it's not dry. It's not one word replies. It's not, how was your day? Like it's a work email. It's playful. It's flirty. She's responding. She's asking questions. She's sending voice notes. It's like genuine interest there. And after a couple of days, he's already saying things to me like, Joe, I don't know what it is, but it feels different. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Like, slow down. Because this is the first place people get trapped. They don't realize how quickly the brain starts writing the story. You know, you get a little attention, a little chemistry. There's a connection going. And it's different from what you've been getting. And your mind goes, oh my God, like this is finally it. We're here. And then it starts fast forwarding, holidays, vacations, meeting the parents, what your life would look like. So I asked him the question I always ask. What do you know about her? And he starts giving me the list. She's funny. She's smart. She's got a good job. She's been through a lot. So she hates games and she's like dating and being intentional. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, you know, that's not bad. That's a vibe. And then I asked him, okay, so what does she want? And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, what, like, does she want a relationship? Does she want something casual? Does she want kids, marriage? Like, what direction is she actually heading in? And he says to me, he's like, well, aside from seeing where things go, we didn't really talk about that yet. And it's like, there it is. Most people wait to talk about reality until they're already attached. They treat the early stage like it's supposed to be pure chemistry and fun. And then months later, they act shocked when they discover a deal breaker. Fine. Anyways, he goes on a date with her, coffee, good date. And he goes on another date with her, drinks, a great date. And then he goes on another date with her, they go out to dinner. And he comes back to me like, Joel, the chemistry is insane. And I'm like, hey, I'm happy for you. That's great. Chemistry is fantastic. But just remember something. You can have chemistry and still be an asshole. And see, the funny thing is, this is when the pattern starts. One day she's texting him like she's his girlfriend. Not dramatic, but close enough. Calling him babe, sending him little selfies. Wish you were here. Like that type of thing. The next day, her replies slow down. Now all of a sudden she's busy. And she's just dealing with stuff. And then she disappears for a few days. And then she comes back again in the morning like nothing happened. And he's so confused. So he does what most people do when they're confused. He starts compensating, starts getting a little worried. He sends a little extra message. He tries to restart that chemistry, that energy. He tries to be funny. He tries to be light. He tries to pretend he's chill when he's not chill. I mean, we've all been there. And she responds just enough to keep him engaged, enough to keep him hopeful, enough to keep the door open, but never enough to make the relationship real. Now, here's the important part. She never lied. She never said, I'm your girlfriend. She never said, I'm choosing you. She never said, I'm ready for something serious with you. She keeps everything in a foggy zone where she can enjoy him without committing to him. And he asks me all the questions people ask when they don't want to accept probability. Do you think that she really likes me? Do you think she's scared? Do you think she's just been hurt and she's like protecting herself? Oh, you know what? Maybe she's testing me. Oh, you know what I should probably do? I saw this online. Maybe I should pull back and make her chase me. And I asked, you're asking what's possible. I want you to ask what's probable. Because yes, it is possible she's like you. And yes, it is possible she's scared. It's possible that she's busy. It's possible that she's being hurt and protecting herself. It's possible that she will wake up tomorrow and say, I choose you. It's all possible. But I'm not her. Here's a question. What's probable? Based on her pattern, what is she most likely to do? And he didn't want to answer because the answer felt uncomfortable. Because we know what the answer is. The probable outcome is she's going to keep you in the fog as long as it benefits her. And the moment it stops benefiting her, she's going to end up leaving. And you're going to feel like you got played, even though she told you the truth with her behavior the entire time. Now, he said the line that I swear is responsible for half the modern dating pain. Because we all want something so bad. He says to me, yeah, but it could still work, right? And I said that sentence is a trap. It could still work is not a plan. It's you trying to keep the emotional high alive. And if you keep dating people based on what they could become, you're not dating them. You're dating your imagination. You're stuck in your head. So what ended up happening? Shocker. He stayed. Because people are human. See, the worst part is, though, he avoided asking the questions that needed to be asked. He didn't want to come off as needy or desperate. He didn't want to rock the boat. He stays for about 3 months. The pattern just keeps getting worse and worse. And he becomes more anxious, more careful, more invested. And he starts trying to be perfect because in his head, if he's perfect, she will choose him. And then one night, she finally says it, not in a dramatic breakup speech, not in a fight, just casually, like she's ordering another drink. I really like you, but I'm going to be honest. I am not ready for anything serious. And funny thing is that he's telling me this story like it's a mystery, like it came out of nowhere. And I'm like, come on, man. It didn't come out of nowhere. It was there the whole time. I told you to ask the questions you needed answers to, and you refused. It was in the inconsistency. It was in the avoidance. It was in the fact that she could be intimate without being committed. It was in the fact that every time you tried to bring reality into it, she turned it into a fog. And let's not even mention the fact that he didn't even try to communicate his desire for a relationship. He was just waiting for her to choose him. So he got hurt. Not because she was evil, because he chose possible over probable. Now, that story is a micro version of what people do in bigger ways too. And this is where we have to talk about expectations. Okay, fire alarm test, smoke alarm test. Because a lot of people don't just date possible versions of a person. They date possible versions of an outcome. They build their entire dating life of what would be flattering if it happened, instead of what is most likely to happen. And see, this is where entitlement creeps in. So let me say this very clearly, and I've said this a bunch of times throughout this whole podcast. You are allowed to want whatever it is you want. You are entitled to want these things. You want a successful partner. You want a fit partner. You want someone younger. You want someone with no kids. It's all fine. You're entitled to want it. You're a human being. But you are not entitled to get it. And when people don't accept that, they get bitter, because bitterness is just expectations colliding with reality. Reality doesn't give a shit what you prefer. Reality responds to what you offer, what you align with, and most importantly, what other people choose. That's it. Now, I'm going to use your examples because they're real and people tiptoe around them like they're afraid to sound mean. And this is somebody that I've spoken about before on this podcast. A single mother in her late 40s wanting a successful man in his early 40s with no kids. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it probable as a default outcome? Well, that depends on what you mean by successful, what you mean by early 40s, and what you mean by with no kids. But here's the bigger point. Kids aren't a personality trait. Kids are a life structure. They change your scheduling, your priorities, your flexibility, your day-to-day reality. Some people want that. Some people don't. So if you're building your expectations on the idea that a man with no kids who is stable and successful is automatically going to want to step in to someone else's family structure, that's not confidence. That's wishful thinking. It doesn't mean it can't happen, because let's be honest, it happens all the time. It just means you're choosing from a smaller pool. And if you choose from a smaller pool, you need to accept what comes with that. More time, more rejection, more filtering. That's probability. Same thing goes the other way. An older, out of shape guy wanting a young, fit, hot woman. Possible? Sure. Probable? Again, depends on what the gap is and what's balancing the gap. Because when there's a big gap, age, lifestyle, attractiveness, fitness, Something usually balances it. Now, that something could be money. Sometimes it's status. Sometimes it's a lifestyle access. Sometimes it's security. Sometimes it's even emotional stability. And sometimes it's just rare chemistry and alignment. But if you are expecting that outcome while offering nothing that makes it likely, you're not dating, you're fantasizing. And fantasies don't build relationships. They build resentment. Now, this is where online dating comes in. Because online dating turns these dynamics into a louder, more visible marketplace. Online dating didn't invent desirability hierarchies. They have existed since we've lived in caves. But what it does do is it amplifies them. There's research showing that online dating markets from a pronounced hierarchy of desirability, and that men and women tend to pursue partners who are, on average, more desirable than themselves by the measure in the study. That's not me insulting anyone. That's just how the markets behave. People reach upwards. And when you have millions of people reaching upwards at the same time, a smaller group gets flooded with attention. A larger group gets less attention. And now the system is becoming skewed. And when someone is flooded with attention, it starts to change incentives. If you have abundance, you can afford to be vague. You can afford to explore. You can afford to keep doors open. You can afford to say, I'm not sure what I want just yet, while still enjoying the benefits of being wanted. That doesn't make someone bad or evil. It just makes them human. I mean, provided they're doing it in a very transparent way. But it does mean you have to be smart. Because if you keep chasing the same kind of person who lives in abundance, you shouldn't be shocked when they don't feel the urgency to choose. On the other side, a lot of men experience the apps as a grind. There's a Tinder study using curated profiles that found women attained large numbers of matches rapidly, while men accumulated matches more slowly. And in that same paper, they found that a higher proportion of female matches sent messages compared with male matches in their data set, which they discuss in the context of women receiving many more matches and therefore filtering differently. Essentially, more opportunity. So when guys tell you it feels like they have to swipe 1,000 times to get anything, even if the exact number varies, the funnel can feel brutal depending on the profile, the city, and the competition. See, that it's that whole thing of abundance again, right? Because women are getting more matches, they feel that they don't have the urgency to choose. Now, I'm going to give you a quick story from the men's side because it illustrates the exact same principle. A guy I know was losing his mind on the apps. He's a normal guy, not ugly, not broke, has a job, decent shape. But he was swiping like a maniac, like it was his job, and getting nothing back. And then he starts telling himself the usual story. Oh, women only want the top guys. Dating is hopeless. I'm invisible. And so I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Show me what you're doing. And he shows me his profile. On his profile, there's one blurry gym selfie and one group photo where you can't even tell which one he is. Not to mention a bio that matches that effort. It says something like, just ask, we can talk. And I'm like, you're right. You are invisible. You're not giving anyone a reason to pick you. They don't even know who you are. And this is where probability gets practical, because probability isn't just about the market. It's also about what you're presenting, what you're targeting, and what you are willing to tolerate. This gentleman was swiping on every attractive woman like it was a lottery ticket, and then acting shocked when he wasn't winning. That's possibility thinking. That's hoping. So we fix the profile, better photo, clear face, a couple of lines that show personality without sounding like a clown. And more importantly, we narrow who he's swiping on to women that actually make sense for him, not just the hottest possible, but compatible possibilities. And within a week, he's getting matches. Not 1,000 matches, not influencer matches, but real matches. And he tells me, this feels different. And I said, yeah, because you stopped playing the app like a casino. That's selection. And the funny part is, once he started getting more realistic matches, he stopped being so thirsty. He stopped doing the desperate over messaging. He stopped trying to prove he was worth attention. And now he started acting like a man who had options because he did. Again, probability. See, your behavior changes when your strategy changes. Now, I'm not saying this to make men resent women or women resent men. That's a trap. The point is, the system shapes behavior. And if you don't understand the system, you'll take everything personally. You'll assume rejection means you're worthless. You'll assume silence means you're unlovable. You'll assume dating is rigged. And the thing is, dating isn't rigged. Dating is a market, and it's not a moral market. You don't deserve something because you're a good person. Dating is a behavioral one, and markets reward what is desired and available. Now, let me say something that might surprise people who don't know me, and after everything I just said. I still believe online dating is one of the best tools we have. Adult life is repetitive. Same routine, same circles, same places. The apps widen the map. They put people in front of you that you would never normally meet or come across in daily life. And that's a win. And there's another win people don't use properly. Online dating can give you a window where you learn about someone before chemistry hijacks your judgment. Because chemistry is real, vibe is real, attraction is real, but chemistry also makes people, us, you and me, we negotiate with ourselves. We feel something. Oh my God. You want to make it work. So red flags look like quirks. It makes deal breakers feel workable. It makes incompatibility feel, it's just a little complicated, but we can figure it out. So if you use online dating intelligently, you can do selection early. And this is where I'm going to be harsh, because the harshness is the medicine. Stop swiping like you're hoping and start swiping like you're selecting, because hoping keeps you in possibility. Selection forces probability. And selection means you stop spending your time on people who do not qualify. This is where I want to bridge into last week's episode, the blueprint method, because it fits here perfectly. Most people think having standards shrinks their pool, and sometimes it does. But most people don't have standards. They have a long list of preferences, and they confuse it with knowing what they want. So they filter out good people for stupid reasons. They chase rare packaging. They chase the same small slice of people. And then they complain, dating is so hard. The blueprint method does the opposite of what people think. It forces you to identify what is actually non-negotiable. And when you do that honestly, and I mean honestly and very, very, very specifically, the list of true non-negotiables is usually not as long as a list of preferences, which means in reality, your pool expands. And now there's more people for you to talk to, get to know, and date. And it's not because you lowered your standards. It's because you stopped insisting on things that don't deserve to be insisted on. That is probability. Probability increases when you stop chasing a flattering outcome and start choosing what can actually work. Let me just give you another quick example, okay? Because I know, like in the lexicon of the social world, women want taller men. It's just a thing. We all know it, right? But here's the thing. If you are 5'3", and let's just say you are a high heel enthusiast and your highest of heels are like 4 or 5 inches, that gives you a max height of 5'8", right? Now you go around saying, I can't stand it when women say this shit, but they say, if you're under 6 feet, you're just a friend. Now, listen, I'm 6 feet tall, so it's not even for me. It's for the other people. But the thing is if your max height is 5'8" with your tallest of tallest heels and you still want someone taller, I can understand that. I get it, right? You want to feel protected. You want to feel like, a big, strong man got you covered. Okay. If he's 5'11", is it really going to make that much of a difference? No. If he's 5'10", is it going to make that much of a difference? No. If he's 5'9", is it going to make that much of a difference? Maybe, but no. Still taller than you. Still taller than you. So you can still feel that way. You can still have your taller guy. But see, the thing is, the average in Canada, where I live, the average man is 5'9". The average woman is 5'3". That's why I used those specific numbers. So you would be opening yourself up to God knows how many people if you would just refine your choice, refine your meaning of someone taller as opposed to saying only 6 feet. Because I think, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's like, it's less than 5% of the male population is actually over 6 feet tall. So you were opening yourself up to a majority as opposed to sticking with a minority. And guess what? When you have more people to choose from, it's more probable you're going to find the person that you want versus keeping your pool very, very, very small. Let me give you another story because this connects directly to expectations and probability. This woman came to see me. She's in her late 40s. Very, very beautiful. She has kids. And like most people, above, let's say, 37 and single and dating, she's tired. And she tells me she keeps dating the same kind of guy. Successful, no kids, early 40s, in demand. And she keeps ending up in the same situation. They keep going out. The guy likes her. He enjoys her company. If you catch my drift. He dates her, but he never commits. He keeps it vague. He keeps it in that we'll see zone. He stays close enough to benefit, but not close enough to be responsible. And she says, why does this keep happening? And it's like, okay, well, it's not rocket science. But you're trying to build something serious in a pool of people that tend to stay casual. And that mismatch keeps repeating. Again, not because you're not worthy. It's just because what you're looking at, that pool is smaller and more competitive. And the incentive for those men are different. It's just a fact. So I told her, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the blueprint exercise. So she writes a list, everything she wants, everything she doesn't want, everything she thinks she needs, everything she thinks proves a guy is high value. And then going through every item on that list, asking herself, if a guy had everything else, would this matter? Whoosh, taking it off the list. Would this matter? Ooh, stays on the list. Would this matter? Whoosh, takes it off the list. And she filters it properly. And what ends up happening is the exact thing I told you happens. Her real non-negotiables, they're not the flashy things. Her real non-negotiables are stability, consistency, emotional maturity, alignment, respect, effort, the ability to communicate without punishment, the ability to show up without playing games. And things like age, height, those things start to disappear. And suddenly her pool expands because she realizes half her requirements were preferences that she used like armor. She wasn't selecting for love. She was selecting for a fantasy outcome that would feel validating, that made her feel young and hot again. And when she stopped doing that, she started seeing men she would have previously ignored. And these men weren't worse. They were simply not the rare outlier she was chasing. And because her pool expanded, her probability increased. And that is the whole point. Now, I want to add another quick story. And this one is personal because it illustrates possible versus probable in the clearest way. And this is a personal one. I was talking to a woman a while back, and early on, I asked the kids question because that's not something I like to waste time on. I said, "What are your thoughts on kids?" And she gave me the maybe answer. Open, not sure, could be, that type of thing. And I said to her, "Okay, listen, I'm going to let you know now, I don't want kids. So, like, they're not an option with me." And she didn't even get upset at the idea of not having kids. But boy, did she get upset at the idea that I could even decide something like that. She kept saying, "How could you decide something like that for the rest of your life?" I mean, it's not that hard for me to do. It's not hard for any of us to do, to decide something that we want or don't want for the rest of our life. But what she was really saying was, I needed to be possible that you change, because she liked me, because she didn't want to lose the option. So what did she do? She tried to keep the door open by attacking certainty. And that's what possible thinking looks like. It's not always romantic. Sometimes it's argumentative. It's you refusing to accept probability because you don't like the cost. And the probable outcome in this situation was simple. We were not aligned. Not because she was bad, not because I'm bad, because our futures didn't match. And if we stayed, it would eventually end. And if I stayed in that, I wouldn't be staying because it made sense. I'd be staying in it because I'm trying to force something to work. And that's the whole lesson. When you choose possible over probable, you're choosing emotion over reality. So here's what I want you to take from this episode. Possible is not the enemy. Possible is just not a plan. A plan is built on probability. Probability is built on patterns, consistency, capacity, behavior, not promises, not potential, not chemistry. Stop selecting people based on what they could become and start selecting people based on what they already are. I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Communication and acceptance. As in being transparent, knowing who they are, they know who you are, and the two of you accepting each other for who you are. Stop building expectations on rare outcomes. Build expectations on alignment, on behavior, on what is most likely to work. And if you're using the apps, stop treating them like a casino. Stop swiping like you're hoping and start swiping like you're selecting. Because selection is how you protect your time. And if something keeps happening to you, don't call it bad luck. Call it what it is. Your choice. And see, the thing is, that's actually good news for you. Because if all this bad shit keeps happening to you as your choice, guess what? You can change it. That's all I really have to say about that, at least for now. Listen, if you want help applying this to your own life, dating coaching, relationship coaching, whatever it is, you can find me at joeyfrancis.com. That's joeyfrances.com. And there you can also find my books. And if you want to go deeper into this stuff on your own time, you can use those books because they would most definitely help you. listen, I'm just going to mention it again, this whole idea of the blueprint method, because it is so important, especially as we get older. We know what's important to us. We know what foundation we want. We know the type of people that we want to have in our lives and around us. We know how we want to be treated. And if we don't, we should figure it out. We should stop dating altogether and write this shit down. Do the blueprint method. Don't worry, there might be a book coming very soon. Yeah, there might be a book coming very soon. As in, I already finished writing it. But if you're like living off of chemistry and vibe and attraction, those are just feelings. And the thing is you can have chemistry with someone, they can still be an asshole. You can be attracted to someone and they can still treat you like shit. You can have a vibe with somebody and they can still be a narcissist. And see, when I say it that way, on your list, you can have it that, hey, listen, if somebody's a narcissist, that's an automatic of me walking away. You're relying on your foundation as opposed to the vibe. Oh, this person's treating me bad. That's on my list. I don't want to be with someone that treats me bad. You're relying on your foundation instead of relying on a vibe. Oh, this person treats like wait staff and other people like an asshole. And I want someone that's genuinely nice. That's you looking at your foundation as opposed to chemistry. I hope that this stuff sinks in, and I hope that it helps. And listen, if you know somebody that could benefit from this, send them my way. Send them to my podcast. Send them to my book. Send them to me. I'll talk to them. Anyways, I have one last thing to say to you. Stop calling it bad luck, because you are the one who picked it. Till next time.